Welcome to the Rock Interview Series with host Thomas S. Orwatt Jr.
Welcome to episode number 64 of the Rock Interview Series. I'm Thomas Orwatt Jr. It is October 20th, 2022, and for this feature, I have vocalist, songwriter, musician Jim Crean as my featured guest. Jim is currently promoting his new band, Stream Taker, which also consists of rock legend Vinnie Appice on drums and Steph Honde on guitar. Stream Taker released Kill the Beautiful on September 23rd, 2022 on Deko Records. This 12-track release consists of well-crafted songs infused with heavy Black Sabbath-influenced riffs and melodic vocals. Jim Crean also tours and records as lead vocalist with Vinny Appice and his brother Carmine Appice in Drum Wars and Appice. In addition, Jim is regarded as a music legend in the Western New York area. He is a leader of the award-winning band Hair Nation and has released several well-received solo records. Jim was inducted into the Buffalo Music Hall of Fame in 2019. So here he is, Jim Crean. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode number 64 of the Rock Interview Series. Today we have a very special guest. We have Buffalo Hall of Fame inductee Jim Crean with us today. Jim, how are you doing?
Tom, it's a pleasure always to speak with you.
Yeah, well, Jim, I've been following your career for I don't know, maybe like 30 years now, and you just put out this new project called Stream Taker, and it features Vinnie Appice, and I always knew that one day that Jim Crean was going to put out this absolutely mind-blowing record. I mean, you've come close before, but this is it, Jim. So I want to say congratulations first of all for this amazing release.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so how did this all come about? I read in the press release that this was something that was kind of pandemic driven, something that kind of took place during the lockdown. Why don't you kind of tell us how the origins of this project?
Exactly that. I mean, Steph and I, and Vinny, as you know, worked on my last record, London Fog, my solo album.
Right.
And we had this weird thing happen to the world. I don't know if you heard about it, but it was called a pandemic.
I was involved. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Were you part of that?
Yeah.
And so, it just, we all work, we all play so much. We're always gigging and playing gigs. And so it kind of stopped everybody from playing. Ironically enough, I was out with the Peace Brothers right before the pandemic started. So I literally was out with them guys for 3 weeks. We covered, the Midwest all the way to like Washington, D.C., Boston, that whole area, and ended up in New York City on that Sunday. Well, that Monday we flew home, and that's when they announced that the world shut down. And when I was in the airport, I'd see all these people with masks on, and we kind of knew what was going on with it, because it was on the news, but we didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
They would tell us is what we kind of knew what was going on. Then when you see all these people in airports, and we were at, me and Colleen talk about it, we were at probably 15 airports, with people with masks on. And then all the meet and greets that we did, shaking hands with thousands of people, pictures and all that stuff, and it was crazy. And then I actually, on my flight home, I was sitting next to a guy. He had one of those crazy, almost like a hazmat helmet on with his mask, and all. I'm sitting there just like real uncomfortable, like this guy, something's wrong with this guy. Well, he's dressed like that. But it wasn't that. He was just cautious. Found out. So that being said, the world shut down. Me and Steph were starting to write songs for my new solo album that was coming up. Really didn't have any direction or idea what we wanted to do, but we knew we wanted to write songs together. And all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and we just had time on our hands. So that's really what happened. We started writing songs. And then the next thing you know, Steph would send me songs that sounded like something that could have been right off the Mob Rules by Black Sabbath album. And I said, man, these are really heavy songs, kind of out of my realm, because me, I like AOR type music, and I write a lot of melodic rock songs, and this was real heavy. I said, I got to get this over to Vinny. So that's what I did. I said, ship them over to Vinny after me and Steph demoed them out, and he called me up and was like, damn, this is great. This is what I want to play. You found what I want, And then the next thing you know, we said, well, let's try and do another song. So we did another song, and it just kept getting morphing into this metal album. And finally, Vinny called me up, and Vinny's like, "I'm really proud of this album. I mean, I'm really into this. This is a really great album, great band." That's really how it started. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, it is. And the one thing I really like about this record, and a lot of people, of course, latch onto the whole, like, Black Sabbath sound to it, which it definitely has. And there's a lot of, like, that, some of these songs would, if they were on a Black Sabbath song or a Black Sabbath record, would be considered like some of Black Sabbath's greatest hits. I mean, some of the riffs are incredible, and you would
Yeah.
expect that with Vinny being involved, of course. But I like the musical diversity of it also. I mean, there's some songs that really don't sound like Black Sabbath at all, and they're just great songs. And that's what I like most about the record, is that it's really a nice range of different types of styles and influences in there.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because we've done a million of these interviews and press release articles, and which is great. We're getting tons of,
Oh yeah,
a lot of steam on this record. But and everybody's saying, "Wow, there's a lot of Dio and Black Sabbath sound," and I hear it, but I don't hear it. Isn't that crazy? I don't hear it that way because it's just how I sing, right?
yeah,
And it's how Vinny plays. He was in Dio and Black Sabbath. It's gonna sound like that. And Steph is very influenced by the Dio stuff as well. So it's got, of course, it's got that element of influence in there. So you do hear that. But I really feel that it's got a modern sound to it, and I feel like every song, it's funny because we were just talking off camera here, and as I'm listening to this record, I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the bad track to come, the filler, The next one comes on, I'm like, okay, this is a great song. Then the next one comes on, I'm like, oh, another great song. So there's really no filler on it. It's 12 really good songs. And like, if we had to make a greatest hits album, if we did 10 albums after this, I think nine or 10 of these songs would be on that album. That's kind of what we got here. It's a really cool album.
yeah, it definitely is. Now my next question is that did you only write 12 songs for this, or were there other tracks that you wrote that didn't make the cut, or you're going to save for future releases?
Great question. We wrote 11 songs for this record. So we did 11. We got the deal right away. We got the deal with Stone Cold. And right away we got a deal. And then we had 11 songs in the can. And then the label said, "Well, why don't you do one more song? Because this thing's going to be released worldwide, so there's going to be stuff in Japan and all kinds of stuff." All right, so I said to Steph, "Let's write another song." So we came up with that "Shine On" song, the very last song.
Great
And
song, yeah.
yeah, it's cool. It's different. And
It,
so I
it
said,
that that definitely does have a Black Sabbath
"Yeah,
vibe to that one. That is a Black Sabbath riff
that
if
is."
I've
And
ever
and
heard
even the
one. Yeah,
sing, even my singing is
yeah,
very. I'll be the first to admit that, which is an honor because Ronnie James Dio, best singer ever, and so it's really cool that it sounds like that. But so we did that song, and then I got over to Vinny, and Vinny goes, "Okay, well, it's too long." First of all, he thought it was too long, and he goes, "And the parts are just kind of all over the place," which they were. So we said, "Okay, well, what do you want to do with it?" So Vinny started messing around with it, rearranging it, and finally he kind of would send back ideas, and a couple of them were like, I don't really like you chopped it up too much, and it's kind of like there's no flow. So then we just kept going back to the drawing board. So we ended up spending a lot of time on that song, more time than we did on the other 11 songs. And so really, I said, well, if we're going to do this, it's got to be a masterpiece song. It's got to be a really good song, and we all got to be really happy with the arrangement. And then Vinny took it back and then sent it back to me the way it is now and said, try that. So I re-sang the whole song, and now it's one of my favorites on the record. It's a great
yeah.
song. It's a great ending song.
Exactly. Usually you wouldn't expect an ending song to be so strong. And that was the thing that got me right from the very first time I listened to the record was, wow, that is really a strong closing song on this. And like I said, it's not very usual to hear that.
Usually, ending songs, in my opinion, are always the songs that couldn't really make the record, but you needed songs, so you throw them at the end, and people already love the album, so they'll accept that last song. Well,
Sure, yeah.
this is like the first song is a great song, "Killer Beautiful," and then it ends on a great song. So I don't know, it's a really cool song. I'm glad we wrote it. I'm glad because, like I said, it was on the cutting room floor. We weren't going to use it. It was one of those songs where honestly we were just like, okay, well, it's really kind of going nowhere. Let's just scrap it and maybe rewrite another song. And I'm glad we didn't give up on it because You know, as you said, it's a powerful song, but very Black Sabbath and very Dio. I'm going to be the first to admit that, and rightfully so. Why not?
Absolutely, why not? I mean, people are, I mean, the most influential lead singer and the most influential metal band. I mean, of course. I mean,
Tony's riffs are there's none better.
yeah, and like I said, Steph really kind of takes a page out of that, but puts his own twist on it as well. And he's really an amazing guitarist. And another thing I was thinking about when I first heard this is like, a million musicians, a million guitarists. You could have picked anybody pretty much that you wanted to work on that. And I'm wondering, like, why did you pick this guy from France of all places? And after listening to the record, I totally get it, man. I mean, this guy's a killer guitarist.
I played with some pretty big name, as you know, big name guitar players, and I've had a lot of big name guys on my records. And Steph, just there's something special there. I mean, he's special, and chord arrangements that he does is it's really cool. Because my last record, I wrote all the songs on London Fog, and then I would just ship them over to Steph and say, okay, juice them up, make them better, and he'd put all the cool stuff to it. But for the most part, the arrangements and the ideas were my riffs, and he would just make them better. And this time I said to him, I said, you send me what you have, and I'll write to that. So
Mhm.
he was really happy about that. He was like, cool, I get the right songs. So like I said, initially it was going to be just a Jim Crean solo album. And then once he sent it back, the first song he sent me was Stone Cold, and I was like, wow. Like I would have never wrote a song like that. I would have never wrote that riff. That's not how I write songs on guitar. Um, I'm more like the Talas kind of writing. That's me all the way. That's my world. And so when I heard that, I went, okay, this is challenging because I would have never wrote that, but I'm gonna write this. And then once it came out, I said, this has to go to Vinny. And I did. I sent to Vinny, and Vinny literally called me up about 10 minutes after he got his email. And went, Jim, this is great. Vinny's real laid back, and to see him excited like that, I thought, well, that's really cool because he doesn't get like that with much.
Yeah,
And
and he's also involved in so many different projects also.
mhm.
I mean, it's like every other month you hear of Vinny coming out with a record, and they're all really good.
Yeah, of
Um,
course, he's great. He's the
yeah,
best. Him and his brother are the best in the world.
yeah. So I mean, he would definitely not be involved in this if he didn't truly believe in it. And I mean, like I said, it's absolutely amazing. So I totally get why he would be involved. Now you mentioned the song Stone Cold. That was the first single released from it, and there was also a really cool video that's out that you can. The viewers can watch on YouTube. Tell me, tell our viewers about the that video. I mean, it's pretty cool, and it's again, it's different for you.
The way that came about was, Robbie. I see your Gudel stuff on the back wall there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Goo Goo Dolls.
Of
Yeah,
course, and so
absolutely. Yeah.
and so who isn't? We're from Buffalo,
Yeah,
so
exactly. Right.
and they're great guys. So Robbie reached out to me about we do that Music is Arts. We did it. It was a virtual that year.
Yeah.
So it was right during the pandemic. So he decided rather than to skip a year, do it virtually, which I thought was a great idea. Because once you skip a year, it just seems like coming back, you lose that whole momentum. And I agree with his decision to decide to continue doing it. We did it virtually. We did it over at Riverworks there. It was really cool. So Al Baker asked me to be in it. And then before you know it, Robbie wanted a band that it was kind of known that could promote it. And so he reached out to me and asked me if I would do a video for one of my songs. And ironically enough, we had just finished Stone Cold. So I called Vinny and I said, "Hey, we got an opportunity to do a video here. Joe Palumbo is going to come and video it for us and all this." He goes, well, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" Just go on a green screen, surprise me, just film yourself playing drums. That's all I asked him to do. And then I told Steph the same thing. And he's in France at the time during lockdown. And so Vinny sends me this video. He's got like the glasses on. It looks like the priest, as he says, the priest from the Holy Diver record. He really
Right.
does. And he sends me this. I go, wow, this is kind of wild. This is so off the rails from how Vinny would normally do it. And the stuff sent me really cool. He looked really good in it too. So I got it over to Joe and I said, "What do you want to do with this? If we're going to do this video?" And he said, "Robbie told me go ahead and film you guys whatever you want to do." So then Al reached out to Everhaunt, giving a lot of plugs here, but they deserve it. And we booked Everhaunt for the whole day. And he brought the zombies in. You know, he has the zombies. He brought the
Yeah.
zombies in. Before you know it, we were kind of writing the story. Hey, what's the song about? So I kind of told him what it was about, and he said, "Okay." So we started writing the whole premise as we went along. So we kind of made it up as we went along. And then I brought my fiance Colleen into the video, and she was there with me. I said, dress up, you're dressing up like a zombie. So we did. That's how it went, you know. And before you knew it, it came out like a real hokey kind of uh, you know, sea level horror movie, but very campy.
Yeah.
We're not taking ourselves seriously, although it looks like we're trying to be like this serious metal
Right.
guys. It was that was done by design. We didn't want to make it look like we're these serious. I'm trying to be seriously. It's trying to be silly almost, you know, like you'd watch it and go, "Oh my god, how funny. It's just so bad. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's so
Well,
bad I'm gonna rewatch it." And that's what people have been doing. And they say to me, after about 3 times watching this really cool video.
I didn't realize that had origins. The origins of it was from music as art. That's
Yeah.
really also
That's the only
interesting.
reason. I mean, it wouldn't
Yeah.
have happened without that. And Joe Palumbo did a phenomenal job. You know, he does a lot of work for Robbie and a lot of like the Goo Goo Dolls stuff. You know Joe, but he's done a lot of stuff where he films like the Goo Goo Dolls and gives them their footage. You know, so that's how I met Joe through Robbie, and he got it over to, you know, we did a lot of filming that day. I mean, all day, and then I said, well, send me a copy. Like within 2 days, he had it done already. And I was
Wow.
like, this is really, I mean, this guy's a monster. I go, this is really good. And I'm proud of it. You know, it's fun. So when we got the deal, we didn't have the deal with Deko at the time. We just basically just did that, and then that was going to get lost to the wayside. And I didn't really know what we were going to do. You know, actually, we initially called it Jim Crean, Stone Cold. So then we got to deal with Deko. We did, you know, they said, we're going to release a song. Ironically enough, they said Stone Cold. And I said, well, we have a video for that. They said, what do you mean? I said, I have a video done during the pandemic, about a year ago. We did a video for that. Send it to me. So I sent it to them. And before you know it, they said, we want to use this video. So I went back to, you know, to Joe and said, okay, they want to use this now. Get hold of Robbie, let him know, get permission and all that stuff. And he came back to me and said, yeah, everybody thinks it's a great idea. So we slapped the Deko logo on the end of it. And here it is. That's really
Wow.
what happened. So it wasn't planned. It wasn't like Vinny didn't even really know what he was filming. He just filmed it as a favor to me, more or less. Before you know it, it's a really cool video. And it's got tons of views and people, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
That was long winded. I'm sorry, but
No,
I
no,
just
no.
wanted to get into what really happened with that video.
Yeah, I had no idea that that was the case of it. Now, the $1 million question for you, Jim, is Stream Taker, is this going to be a long-term project? Are we going to see this band out on the road? Are we going to see like a second record?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Good, good.
So is it a long term project? We're hoping so. It didn't start off that way. It started off as exactly what you said, a project. But just started off as a Jim Crean record. And then after, I knew right away after the second song we wrote together, which would have been, I think, Kill the Beautiful, because the Jim Crean record was going to be called Jim Crean Kill the Beautiful. I had that melody and the words already written, but it was totally real not commercial, but you know how I write, real
Yeah,
AOR
yeah,
style.
yeah.
And that I had that all written. And then when Steph sent me the music for Kill the Beautiful, I said, I'm going to use all my words, my melody, slow it down. Yeah, slow it down and throw it onto that song. And that's what I did. And then after we wrote those 2 songs, I knew right away that this can't be a Jim Crean record. It's got to be something else. So then Vinny called me up and said, hey, I got an opportunity. There's a label in Germany that wants to do something with the Appice Brothers and have 2 albums out with them. And they like your songwriting because we had a song called Danger that they like. And he goes, that Carmine and myself, and I think Vinny wrote. And we want to use something like that. Not that song, but something like that style for this compilation record in Germany. I said, well, why don't we just give them Stone Cold? You know, it's ready. So we did. And then we had to come up with a name for this thing. So at that time, we called it Vinnie Appice Scream. And Vinny goes, I don't like having my name. Vinny's not, no ego at all with that guy. He's just like, let's just call it Scream. And I said, well, there was a band called The Scream. I don't want to do that at all. And then I went back to saying, well, I have a song called Scream Taker off the London Fog record that was written about Ronnie. And I had Rudy Sarzo on bass, and Vinny on drums, and Steph on guitar. So they both played with Ronnie. So it was a whole thing. The words were, are you familiar with that song?
Yes, I am. Yeah, and that was one of
Yes,
the things I was going to mention. Yeah, I knew that was a song from London Fog. Yeah.
it was. So I said, why don't we just call it Scream Taker? And he goes, all right, whatever. So I never got a copy of it, but I know it came out on vinyl, this thing. And it was sold in Europe and Germany and all that. But I haven't seen it. So that was that. So then once we started writing songs and getting really serious with this project, it became like an everyday thing. We were back and forth with files, and it was a lot of fun. I got to be honest with you. Usually, when you make a record, it's painstaking and it's a lot of work. This was actually a lot of fun. Like hearing Vinny, I would do my melodies, and Steph would give me the riffs, and then I'd send it over to Vinny and then hear what he did. And oh, that's clever. I never thought to do that. And I'm gonna change my vocal to match that. And it just became fun again, you know. And so once we started getting into that, Vinny approached me and said, "Hey, I think this could be a real band. I think we should do it as a band, and let's try and get a deal. Let's see where it takes us." I mean, he's got Last in Line. That's his first priority.
Right.
And then we got the Drum Wars. That's a big priority to me and Vinny. And I got my band. Steph works in Europe, in France with his stuff. But there's always room to do something. So that's really what happened. And that's why we called it Scream Taker. We all thought it was a cool name. It fits the record perfect, don't it?
Yeah, everything with the record, I'm impressed with. Even, I mean, the cover art is so out there. It's so different. But I love it. I love all the artwork that goes with it, the songs, the whole concept behind it. I think it's kind of it's a little different from what you expect from the music. You would expect maybe a darker cover,
Yeah,
but I like the fact that it isn't. It's so cliche.
totally. Because when we get the deal. So now we're fast forward, we get this record deal. And it's a good deal. Deko Entertainment, they put out a lot of albums. Got a new album coming out with them. Angels on that label. Got a lot of Tiffany. Well, like the guys from Bluester called on the label. I mean, it's a lot of big name artists on their label. And when we did this, when we first started saying, okay, we're going to shop this deal, but it's got to be with someone who has major distribution. That's what this is about. Because you can make a great record, but if no one hears it, it's on one of your shelves back there, and like that one back there. It
That's
looks
a
great
great
on your
record.
shelf, by the way. It's a great record,
It's a great cover too. Yes.
produced by Phil Nero. But
Yeah.
so I'm really proud of that record. I'll get into that, but I didn't want that to happen. What it's doing right now, sitting on your shelf. So I said, I need to have this music heard if we're going to do a deal. So we had some pretty decent labels come to us, but the deals just weren't. They just weren't going to work, you know. So then when our manager Jeff Keller, he manages the Appice brothers. So I was talking to him about just doing some bookings with the Appice brothers, and he said, "What else you got going on?" And I said, "Well, I got this band going with Vinny, and you should hear it." So I sent it to him. He called me back and said, "It's fantastic, like you did. This is amazing. What are you gonna do with it?" I said, "You're gonna do something with it." And he said, "Give me a couple days." Literally, like a day later, he called me up and said, "I got a label through Deko Entertainment. Charlie fell in love with it. We're going to do the deal." I said, "Trust you, let's do the deal." And I'm happy we did because they've been giving us so much love. It's, I see it all over the place now. And that was the biggest thing. I really wanted major distribution on this record. I didn't want it just to be released and win another album out there. You know what I mean? Because that's what happens with these bands. Everybody does these project bands and they just get released. And even if they're great, no one knows them.
Yeah. Yeah. I just did an interview with Chaz West,
That's a good friend of mine.
yeah, a great vocalist.
Great guy.
He's currently promoting a band called Westbound, and they're on Frontiers Music, which has a ton of just
Yeah.
projects. And one of my questions I asked him, like straight out, was, "Is this going to be a real band, or is it just going to be one of those projects that people like the music, but they never get to see the band live?" And he said that Westbound is going to be like an actual band that's going to be his priority. So I mean, that's why I asked you, because I really hope this band hits the stage and it plays in front of, like, hundreds and thousands of people, because a lot of people are going to be turned on by this song, by these songs and your band.
This style of music is real big in Europe, South America, Brazil, and we have a promoter in Brazil who wants to take us throughout South America for a couple. So we're just putting together the money and everything that goes with and all the money's starting to fall together to make sense to be able to do this thing in 2 weeks, and so that's going to happen. We're looking at more like summertime for that. And I can announce now something really, really, really cool, and you're the first. You're getting it.
All right, let's hear it, Jim.
We're going to be doing the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame. We're going to debut the band at the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame in January at the Canyon Club in Los Angeles.
Wow.
So we're doing 4 songs, and then we're doing another song, which I can't announce this yet. It's with a major. He's going to come in and sing a song because he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's going to sing. We're going to be his backup.
Congratulations,
so,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that happened. I just literally put that together. I haven't signed a contract yet, but that's all coming via email and all that. But that's coming. So that's in January. So that's really, I think, when we're going to debut the band. We don't have a bass player because it's just been me, Steph, and Vinny.
Yeah.
So we're kind of deciding on and asking around, and we're going to figure that out. But it'll be someone.
That was a question I had here in my notes. I was going to ask. I was assuming that Steph played bass on it. Is that correct?
Yeah. What happened was, he was demoing this back. He played keyboards on it, piano, bass, and guitar. The guy's unbelievable. I mean, he can do everything. He even sings great. So he played bass on it, and then once we did the record and did all our parts, I said to Vinny, I go, all right, so we got to figure out a bass player. Who should we ask? So we started throwing a couple names around, and Vinny goes, honestly, I already locked in with the bass that's on there. Steph did a great job. Let's do that. Him as a bass player. I'm already locked. The drums are locked in, and so I isolated everything but the drums and the bass just to make sure that it was really, tight, and it was. And I said, okay, I think we're good for this record. But obviously, if we do some tours, some dates, tour is a strong word because nobody tours anymore. So it would be a lot of dates here and there.
Yeah. A lot of people do the fly-ins are kind of common nowadays.
And that's what we're going to end up doing with this. It's not going to be like we're going to get in a van like 20 again and just eat peanut butter sandwiches and just bang away and play these bars and hope for the best. We're not going to do that, of course. We're older. We've been doing this a long time, and so it's got to make sense. But the stuff we're being offered is all making sense to do, and I'm excited about that. But we do have to figure out who's going to do bass on it, and I'm sure whoever does it will be complimentary to what we're doing.
And I saw recently on Facebook that you now have a bundle package available now for the record, which is really cool. You get a T-shirt, you get a signed poster, you get the CD. That's as available right now as we speak, correct?
Yeah, it's a T-shirt, which I haven't seen those yet, but I guess the CD, and then it's not a poster, it's like a booklet. It's different how they did this. So the credits and all the recording information's in this booklet. Really cool. It's like a booklet with all kinds of graphics. And I got to throw a plug out to Lee Stoke, did all the designing of the booklet and artwork on that, and Jeff DeBurry did the album cover. So it's really cool. It's a booklet. It's all autographed by the 3 of us, and they get that, a CD, and a T-shirt. We are going to put this out on vinyl. It just kind of wanted it out by September, because that's usually when you drop albums in September. So they wanted to drop the album and then see what kind of interest you got, and then we're going to do the vinyl release maybe January. Yeah,
from what I've heard, that there's a long delay on vinyl production right now. So that's probably a main reason why it wasn't released at the same time, I would think.
Well, that's 100% the reason, because what could have happened is we were going to do back orders, pre-orders. And I personally, I like pre-orders. They're great. They are great. And it pretty much, if you get enough pre-orders, it pays for the product, and it's great. For everybody wins. Even you win because you're guaranteed a copy of it. So pre-orders are great, but we didn't know exactly how backed up they are because we got the deal. We only got the deal about 2 months prior to it being released.
Wow.
So we got the deal. They said, let's get this thing out, and you fit right into our catalog. They do a lot of one sheets to the record stores and whatnot, the buyers. So they wanted to get us on that one sheet. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And he said, we can do a back order, pre-order, back order of the vinyl. I said, I don't want to do that. I think we should get this out there. And then once it's doing well, if there's a lot of interest, we'll do a vinyl release of it. And I think that's the right way to go. Because I've just seen so many times in the past that people, they spend their hard-earned money. They spend, vinyls are about $40 now, 35
Yeah.
bucks.
Yeah.
So, if people want, and then they do the blue color vinyl and the marble vinyl and the pink vinyl and the purple with polka dots. So if you're a true fan, you're going to want all that. So you're getting, $300-400 tied up of your hard-earned money. And I didn't feel that was a good idea. I said, I don't think we should do that. I think we should, once the album's made and manufactured, and then they buy.
Yeah.
Being a fan of music, that's how I like to do it. I hate pre-ordering a record and waiting 8 months. That's kind of forget about it. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, in the mail you get your album. Oh, I forgot about this.
During your career, did you ever feel that you wanted to move out of Buffalo to a bigger city just to get that exposure? Because I mean, quite frankly, it's difficult to make it out of Buffalo. I mean, it really is. So did you ever think of moving to LA or New York City to try to get to the next level in your career at any point?
Every hour, if you're taking it if you're taking it serious as a musician, every day you'd wake up and go, all right, is tomorrow going to be the day I have to? I don't want to move to LA, but if I want to do this professionally, I have to move to LA. I have to move to New York City. I have to move to Toronto. At the time, those were the three big cities, and I had a lot of friends doing that type of thing, going to LA, going to. I would let them be my guinea pigs, kind of go out there and see what they're doing. But then I'm a go-getter. I like to. I'm a go-getter. I go after it. So, the many times I would say I have to go do this, and it would always be the next day. And then what would come up is like Buffalo. One good thing about Buffalo music scene at that time, there's no music scene anywhere anymore. But at that time, you could play in a band every night of the week. So then you get caught up in that whirlwind because before you know it, you have a gig today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and you're caught up in your schedule. And then your agent will give you the next month's schedule. And you're like, okay, I'm working, I'm playing every night, but when I slow down, I'm moving to LA and giving it a try. And then you get the next month's schedule. And that would always happen for years. So it was really hard. But you have to make a decision at one point. You want to do this professionally or not, or just be a local guy and listen, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Carmine said something to me it made me feel better one time. We were playing Vegas, and all these guys were coming up to me and they were going, like, I had the drummer from AC/DC, what's his name?
Simon Wright.
No.
Phil Rudd.
Nope.
Chris Slade.
Chris Slade, bald guy, came up to me and goes, yeah, who are you? Who are you? I should know who you are, blah, 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 blah. And then I said, I'm just from Buffalo, New York, that type of thing. And then Carmine just happened to catch wind of that. Carmine goes, don't sell yourself short. I mean, he goes, you've done a lot and you're really well known in Buffalo. And because Carmine sees it, when we're playing Rochester, Buffalo, that whole East Coast thing, he sees people coming up to me and stuff and they, saying whatever. And Carmine said to me, it was really nice. We had a good moment where he goes, you don't have to have made it like on the national level to be successful. You can be successful like you are, and not so. He goes, because a lot of guys who make it on that big stage, they get quick instant success and then they're right back to where they started.
Yeah.
Whereas I consistently have been doing it and I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
So that made me feel good about it. And here's coming from a guy who, played Wembley Stadium 3 nights, with Rod Stewart, who has many, many platinum albums under his belt and songwriting credits, all that stuff. So I thought that was really cool that he said that to me. And then, but the thing is, I've been with those guys 12 years now. So I did get a lot of taste of what it's like to be out there at that level. So I kind of moved from that local guy thing to where it is now.
You received a lot of press a couple years ago when you were named the vocalist for, the concert never happened, but for the Vincent invasion, that you and Carmine Appice were going to be on, and it of course Vinny, Vinny Vincent freaked out, or I don't know what happened. I mean, who
Yeah,
knows? But I
that's what
mean,
happened.
everybody, knew was talking about you then. I mean, that was good publicity, I guess, even though it never happened, right?
It was when I'm at the Heavy Metal Music Awards, and Michelangelo Badio comes up. He was a good friend of ours, mine. Yeah, I was watching CNN. You were on CNN. I go, what the hell was I on CNN for? Because they were talking about Vinnie Vincent's career, resurrecting his career, and he goes and they mentioned you, Carmen, and Tony. I said, wow, I guess it's people are noticing this. So yeah, we got tons of press over it,
Yeah,
um, tons of excitement. And listen, this thing could have been really good for Vinny. It could have been good for all of us, but it could have
yeah,
been really good for Vinny. I mean, it wasn't about me. It never was about me. It was about Vinny. It was about him coming out of the shadows and saying, "Hey, I'm still here, and I can still do it. And I can do it just as good as anybody." Or everybody's doubting me how good I am or can't play. Remember, I heard a lot of that. He can't play. He can't play. And so this was an opportunity for him to go out there and just shut that door and tell people, here it is, with three guys who are at a high level. Me, Carmen, and Tony, we've been playing, strong for 40 years, all of us.
yeah.
Carmine 60 years, and Tony probably as me, and it would have been a great opportunity for Vinny to come out and really. And here's the thing: these Kiss fans, because I know you're a huge Kiss fan, and I love Kiss. Believe me, that was my first band as a kid. I loved Kiss, love Kiss. You know me, I'm a Talas guy, and I'm a, that stuff, Aerosmith. But
Mm.
Kiss fans are the most dedicated, loyalist fans I've bigger than Beatles fans, in my opinion. They are dedicated. When I got the gig with Vinny, and it's funny because I see videos or interviews where Vinny said, "Oh, I never picked a singer. He, you wouldn't pick a, you wouldn't pick that. You wouldn't be in a band if you didn't pick the right."
Yeah, yeah.
And then at one point he said, "I never told Carmen I wanted Carmen in the band." Stop it. Why would we even talk about this if we weren't
It
asked?
did just come out of nowhere. It just didn't materialize out of thin air. I mean, there was obviously some discussion on his part.
It was months worth of discussion and months worth of, yeah, this is great, and me sending demos and him coming back saying, this guy's great, I want him in the band, blah 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 blah. And then him telling Carmine, he's the best guitar player that ever lived. And he didn't really, it was crazy, he didn't know who Tony was.
Really.
Yeah, he's like, who's this guy? And so
The Firm, Jimmy Page. I mean,
Tony's
come on, man.
Tony's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so we had a basic. Carmen had to explain to him who he was. So, and he never heard Tony. I don't think he ever heard Tony play, but he went based on what credentials. But with me, I had to send him demos, and the manager called me up and said, "Loves it. Thought you did a great job on it, whatever." But that's neither here nor there. Um, so back to what I was saying with to me it was never about, oh, hey, this is my chance to prove who I am and I can show people what I can. Well, I didn't go into that mindset. I went into that mindset with, I was never, I was a Kiss fan, the original Kiss guys, the four of them. But
Yeah.
after that I kind of lost sight of what that band was all about, and that whole, when he lost the makeup and all that, I kind of lost sight of really all that. So I really was out of the loop about Vinnie Vincent. I've heard the name and I knew he had played with Slaughter, and I knew that stuff, but I really didn't know anything about it more than that. So when they sent me these songs, they were like the first time I ever heard these songs, and some of them I really liked. I got to be
Yeah.
honest with you, they were really good songs. Like there was a song called "Time of Year,"
Yeah.
like brilliant. I think that's the song I demoed for him. But so my goal, I said to Carmen, Carmen said to me, he goes, "Hey, this is a great opportunity for all of us to make a little money. First of all, to be honest, and it could be turned into a really good gig." I said, "Great." And so when we were kicking back the songs, Carmen never really heard any of these songs either. So, and I don't know if Tony did. I really talked to Tony about it. But to me, it was like hearing these songs for the first time. And I thought, okay, how am I going to put my spin on it? Because I don't want to sound like that guy. So Mark Slaughter or the other guy. I want to do my own thing. But, I want to be careful because I want to, this is about Vinny. It's not about me trying to showcase who I am or come out and say, hey guys, look at me, look at me. It's not, that wasn't what I was trying to go with. I was going with, let's do the best job we can possibly do for Vinny to make people go, wow, he's back. Because let's face it, these Kiss fans are just so loyal, and Vinny could go out there and probably stand on a box, which he does, I think,
Yeah,
and
which
just
he
say,
does. Yeah.
I have a guitar in my hand. I'm not going to turn it on, but I have it. And they would all give him, standing ovation because they love Kiss, anything Kiss. So I thought, why don't we go out there and be super tight as a band, just kill it. And even if Vinny isn't on his game and can't play like everybody's saying he can't, which we'll find out, we can cover and make it so much better, right?
Yeah.
And so that was my goal with this whole thing. And Carmine was like, that's a great approach. I think that's the way we should do it. And I said, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to go out there and just showcase us because we're doing it on our own anyways, it's our project that we have. Let's get this guy back on his feet, and we can blow some minds and then do more of this type of stuff. So I went into it very open-minded with a very positive attitude, very positive. Learning songs, and we had to fly from Vegas to San Diego for the NAMM show, and then we played the NAMM show, the Appice Brothers, and the whole time there, I just flew listening to these songs and working on the melodies and memorizing everything, and really dedicated to it. And we were on the red carpet at the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame, and I was being asked. I think Eric Blair from Blair and Out was like, tell me about the Vinnie Vincent thing. I'm like, it's gonna be great, blah blah. I'm hyping it up, whatever. Then I went to the next interviewer, which would be the metal voice, MEK over at the metal voice, and just as about first thing out of his mouth was Vinnie Vincent thing, great gig, blah blah blah. You're a new Vinnie Vincent singer. Tell me about how you got the gig. I started telling him. Carmine leans into me and says, Derek just texted me, Vinnie Vincent's blowing the whole thing out. Don't talk about it.
Oh,
I'm like, and you can see it's on YouTube. It's crazy. So they just tell me about the Vinnie Vincent gig. I go, yeah, it's gonna be great. I don't know what's going much about that.
oh man.
It's really what. And he goes, and he was clever enough to hear and figure it out and move on from that.
Right.
But it was, so that's what happened. And I never really got a straight answer what really happened. Like I said, he came up with 1,000 different ideas. I just think he just panicked and probably thought to himself, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to go out and do it this way. And then he started canceling stuff. Fans were getting mad. But fans were always sending me messages saying stuff like, you would have been great for the band. And we went through back, and I sold a ton of CDs and back catalog. People were buying my stuff. So I'm thinking this is really kind of worked out for him.
Yeah.
And people were saying, yeah, Vinny's crazy, he's a flake and all this stuff. I don't know the guy, so I can't say yes he is or not. I can give my opinion. I see what he looks like and how he's acting. Yeah, I have my opinion, but I don't know him, so I can't say he's like that or not. So I don't know. But a lot of people were siding with me, Carmine, and Tony, saying, you guys would have been a great band for him. He really blew his opportunity. And I just did an interview a couple weeks ago, and the guy said, "Is there any chance of that really Vinnie Vincent band happening with you in it? Because I'd love to see it." I'm like, I really haven't even thought of that, to be honest with you. Long-winded version of it, but I feel I could tell you the version because that's really what happened.
Yeah.
I've done a ton of these interviews and people bring it up. I just breeze over it. But with you, I feel like I'd like to set the record straight. That's what happened. And Kiss fans really, I feel, got shorted on that because if he's just going to go out there and just noodle on a guitar for 5 minutes and charge people $300, I don't think that's fair. And I would not agree to it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that detailed answer, Jim. I really do. Do you know if Carmine has spoke with Vinny since all this has happened?
No, I mean, he was we were pretty upset about it because and we all got paid though, which is kind of cool. We got deposits and stuff like that, which was good. But we no, right after that show happened, when we found out about it, it was all through the agent at that point. And Carmine did talk to Vinnie Vincent a couple days before that, and Vinny was assuring him, everything's great. Yeah, let's do this. It's gonna be great. I'm the best guitar player in the world. Literally, his words. I'm the best guitar player in the world.
Okay.
To say that, just tells you someone's mindset. Who would even think like that? I mean,
Right.
is
Yeah.
there's such a thing as the best guitar player in the world? If you really think that about yourself, then it shows you the character that you might be.
Yeah.
So that being said, Carmine did not speak to him after that. Carmine just was like, you know what, screw this guy. Really, honestly, we all were. I was like easy come, easy go for me. Didn't other than the time I spent learning songs and booking flights and all, because we were supposed to go to Nashville to rehearse for a week, and it was the shows were going to be at Nashville 2 dates. And other than that, that's really all I had invested in it, in time, and clearing our schedules around. But
Hmm.
Carmine, it was a little closer to Carmine because Carmine and him were friends for years. Carmine and Vinny were friends. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
when Kiss, you probably know the stories, but when Kiss was looking to get a guitar player, they called Carmine and asked Carmine what they thought of Vinnie Vincent. Vinny and Carmine told him Vinnie Vincent's a great guitar player, phenomenal. He's a flake and a head case. Stay away from him. And then
I
they took
remember
him.
hearing that. They
And,
took
and
'em.
they took him.
Yeah.
And then they found out like real fast, and Paul Stanley is pretty, I think, pretty vocal about it, that this guy was pretty. I mean, I heard some inside stories that this guy is really different, really, really different.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, until it happens to me or I know the guy, I can't. It's all hearsay to me.
Hmm.
You hear that when people say that guy's a jerk, but then you meet him and he's completely great. It's hard for you to say, well, he's not a jerk. He was very nice to me, so I don't feel he's a jerk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
how I approach everybody in life.
one of the things that happened last December 15th, was you played on stage with Billy Sheehan, and then everyone who's watching this, I just want to say that Jim is a huge Talas fan. Both of us being from Buffalo, we used to go see Talas all the time back in the late 70s and early 80s. What was it like for you to get on stage with Billy Sheehan and do that Highway to Hell song with him? I mean, you guys sounded great on that. That was a highlight of that particular evening for me. But what
Oh,
was it like for you to be on stage with Billy?
I mean, listen, I have the most respect in the world for Billy. That goes back to what we were saying. Great guy. That's the one of those guys where you meet him, he's a great guy, and it's genuine. There's no fluff there. He's just a great guy, and in my opinion, the best bass player in the world. So, what an honor that was to share the stage with him. I mean, I've shared the stage with Dave Constantino. When I got inducted in the Hall of Fame, Dave was my guitar player I used for the Hall of Fame. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And as you know, Phil Naro, probably my best friend of all time. My heart, every day I wake up, some point throughout the day, I think of Phil. That's how crazy close me and him were. And so I got to me and him did countless shows together, whether him playing guitar and singing background or me playing guitar, him singing, whatever. But we've always worked together. So to answer your question with Billy, what an honor. I mean, I can't wait to do it again with him. Billy Sheehan is by far the best bass player I've ever heard, and really influenced me as a musician growing up.
Yeah.
Going to see him play opening for Talas all those years. My band's opening for Talas, and I can't say enough great things about Billy. It's the best.
Hmm.
Hopefully that answered it, but that's
Yeah. No.
genuine how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I knew how much it meant to you,
Hmm.
and me being in the audience, I mean, I could just it meant a lot to me too watching it. And it was really a cool experience,
You
being in the audience, yeah, and
you said
watching
one
that.
time I'm like the fifth member of Talas.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel that way at times because the whole history. I'm part of that history. I've been around that band for forever, both
Hmm.
incarnations of it, and it's uh, it's a shame that Phil they did the new album. It breaks my heart. It's bittersweet because he was so proud of that record and he played it for me and way way long ago, way before I think they had got the album finished, and he played it for me, and we sat and listened to it, and we we knew what was happening here, right?
Yeah.
And it was like I was excited but really sad at the same time. I was like, great, I love these songs. These songs I hold close to me too because I know all those songs because just over the years of of love and Talas and opening and playing, hearing these songs, and a lot of the songs me and Phil covered. We did
Yeah.
Crystal Clear on
Yep.
that album back there that you have.
Yeah.
Velvet Cross. We did Heartbreaks Down. We've done Whole World's Gonna Know. We did tons of stuff. Talas. And it comes out. It came out. I was so excited to get it. And I got it right away. And just I sit and listen to it with like very proud that this legacy will live on for Phil. That this music, this body of work will live on forever.
Yeah.
So now I'm happy about it. You know what I mean? Now I'm like, I got past that sadness, and I'm really happy for him. And what a great tribute to Phil.
Yeah, I honestly feel that, that's probably, out of all the records that he put out, probably the most solid one that he's put out as an artist. And what a way to go out. I mean, talk about going out in a blaze of glory. I mean, that Talas 1985 record is just incredible.
Go out and get it. I mean, it's worth it. And like I said, it immortalizes Phil. That album will always more. And I always said, and even me when I play a lot, we do some Talas covers in my hair band, and the first thing I say, this is Phil Narrow, and it's because my thoughts are I always want to tribute him, keep his legacy alive, and I made that promise that I'll always do that. So that's as long as I'm around, he's going to be around, and I really truly mean.
And it's ironic too, because when I play Stream Taker on Spotify, when the record finishes, then Intermountain Flame comes on. The Talas song comes on.
How weird is that?
It's super
Creepy.
weird. It is.
It's funny when I was making some of that album. We had lost Phil at that time when we were completing the album, and one of the songs, when it was, I listened to it back and I went, "Holy shit, man, this song was Phil!" Like, and I played it for Colleen, and she came in, she goes, "Is that Phil?" I said, "No, it's me." And she goes, "Oh my, come on, that's not you." I said, "It's me." And it was bittersweet, sad. I wasn't like, "Yeah, that's me." She goes, "Oh my God, it sounds like Phil." And as I was, not to get too deep, but as I was singing it, I felt. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Felt the guidance. I want to say, like, how would we normally, when we write songs, where would we go with that? And what kind of, and it was just coming to me. And then when I listened to it back, I went, I'm trying to think what song that was called, Burning Flame. And there's a song called These Words You Speak. And next time you play that, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
And then I went, wow, it's there. But my thoughts are, it's always a tribute to Phil, not trying to replace. It's not trying to. No one can replace him, in my opinion.
Right. And I honestly think, Jim, that if Billy ever decided to do anything with Talas and do a show to promote the record or do a tribute to Phil, I honestly think you're the only person that could really step in and do those Talas songs and do them just, to be quite honest.
I've heard that from you. I've heard that from everybody. Everybody says if Talas goes out, and they should be the guy, and it wouldn't be like trying to replace Phil, because you can't replace Phil. Phil's
right.
He's, in my opinion, the best singer ever. I love Dio, but Phil, if I had to pick pound for pound, Phil wins by landslide. And it wouldn't be a matter of trying to replace him. It would be a matter of tributing him and keeping his legacy alive. I'm doing that anyways. No matter what I do, I'm always going to keep his legacy alive because he deserves it. I mean, he's one of those guys that should have been biggest rock star in the world. But you know what? Most humble guy you'll ever meet in your life, too.
Oh, yeah. I met him several times. Yeah, definitely agree with you there.
One of those guys that no ego at all. And that's how I decided I'm going to follow that same path. You know, and man, I like I said, I can't say it enough. I miss him. But thank you for the compliment. But I do miss him every day. And I'm glad that album's out there.
Yeah.
For the world to hear.
Yeah, it's a great record. All right, Jim, we're about to end the interview right now, but before we leave, are there any upcoming shows that you'd like to promote?
I got some great shows lined up. Yeah, actually, we're doing, my Hair Nation band's doing a show with Dokken, doing one at Touch of Texas on November 12th. And then I'm doing a show with Dave Constantino band
Oh,
which
wow.
is going to be great. That's going to be Thanksgiving Eve. I'm singing a few Talas songs.
Oh, no
That should
kidding.
be pretty
Wow.
cool. Some surprises there. And then I'm doing the annual the Musicians of Buffalo show with Billy Sheehan, Jesse Galante, and Bobby LaBelle. Great, cool Christmas show. I love those three guys. They're great guys and girls. And that's December 16th. So, and that's at the stage. So, got some pretty cool shows lined up.
I'll say, yeah. Okay, so we'll definitely have to check you out there. Jim, again, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.